Rarely do we get an opportunity that we get a chance here at Keystone to talk about our home area, right? Ultimately, Tampa Bay, Florida, and it's with all of the rivers turning green and everything that we are doing with St. Patty's Day this weekend. It's probably a good time to talk about our little home court. Let's start with Hillsborough County. The importance behind Hillsborough County is the unique style of property sales. And I think that what keeps our area strongest and in a dynamic real estate sense has to be because of the transactions of the listings of exceptionally unique properties. From the sale of large portions of the former Big Cat Rescue Reserve to listing some of the most expensive homes in the state, this county attracts a major amount of attention inside of the property sector. So, some key takeaways from what we will talk about on this: that large chunk of land for Big Cat Rescue was sold for $19.5 million to a developer. One of the second things is two of the most expensive residential listings in Tampa Bay's history are located in Hillsborough County, with prices reaching 38.5 and $22 million. There's also a notable land swap that's happening in the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office that is also getting some attention. So let's walk through each of these. So you see some of the stuff that's happening right here in my backyard. So Big Cat property sale. Big Cat Rescue was a prominent um, sanctuary that if this is the area that featured the Tiger King show. It sold a significant portion of its 90-acre Hillsborough County property for $19.5 million. The land itself has been acquired by a developer with plans to construct approximately 280 homes. There's an additional 11 acres that are slated for sale under another nearby developer for construction of 300 apartments as well. So the proceeds from this whole sale is going to go towards that Baskin's ongoing mission to combat the extinction of certain wild cats and fund for the care of relocation cats in their Arkansas offices. Luxury listings that command top dollar, the second big point, the second big event that's happening currently. Hillsborough County is now home to some of the most expensive residential listings in Tampa Bay's history. There is a sprawling estate in Odessa that's listed at $38.5 million. This set a new record for the region in pricing. The property itself is a testament to the high end market here and the type of activity that goes on in the area. When people typically think Florida and expensive properties, they have an expectation that they're going to Miami or Miami-Dade County or the Atlantic coast to get that. I am here to tell you that is not the case. Take the entire coast and peninsula, we have more beachfront property than anywhere else in the United States. I would hazard to say we probably have more coastline than the entire eastern seaboard and much better beaches. The quality of the sand, the texture of the sand, the water quality down here as we are stretched out towards the Caribbean and the Bahamas is some of the most beautiful water that you'll ever get on the US coastline. When you're talking about homes being built waterside and homes that are being built with ocean views, these are the type of properties that really generate a lot of energy in that high end market. There's another property of mention up in the Oaks. It's lakefront, actually, lakefront mansion on Lake Thontososa, 152 square feet, Lakefoot lip mansion. And that one's on the market currently for 22 million. This expanse boasts extensive lakefront, numerous amenities, on-site bowling alley, racetrack, and considered one of the largest homes in the county. The sale of it and it's anticipated to be one of the biggest in Hillsborough County's history. Should be fast and furious. Properties like this, although they are longer on the market, that's longer on the market by average because the cost of these homes, it takes a little bit longer to get on the market, but they sell once they have generated their interest very quickly. So you're not talking about viewing after viewing after viewing when I say this, and it takes you a year to sell it. No. When you're talking about multi-million dollar properties, and we deal with this quite often in Florida, we see it sit on the market because these are specific buyers that are generated. And yes, they shop online just like anybody else to see what's going on. But when they are interested enough to actually come out and take a look at it, it's typically game on. It's negotiation on site at that point. We also have some notable land transactions that are going on in the county. Beyond the residential sales, the county has a significant size with Daryl Shaw, who recently finalized a land swamp deal with Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office. This is a good indicator of the ongoing development strategy within this county. Details of the swap are kind of limited, but it does highlight that we have an active commercial and government real estate landscape that's pretty diverse. These are the type of things that underscore Hillsborough County's robust and varied real estate market. And it attracts both large scale developers and ultra luxury buyers. Another thing that you certainly have to consider, other than the wonderful beauty, the level of safety, the great schools, the impressive structures and the history and the cultural capacity of the area, is the significant wave of new business expansion that is happening here. This is a huge signal for robust economical growth. It will always increase the consumer choice index, and several popular national brands are on their way here. You're talking about Chipotle, Raising Cane's, Publix. These are all now set to open up new locations all across the county. This promises job creation, enhances service for residences, and having multiple national chains and major grocery store chains continuing to expand means that we've got services for the people that are being considered. Expansions like this and job creation stimulates the local activity. We already know that we have a large percentage of incoming residents into the state of Florida. Drive anywhere, and this will prove that to you. And while we are hurriedly trying to catch up with that with road construction and infrastructure additions and faster speeds of internet to be able to keep up with business and residential requirements. On top of it, new locations are being strategically placed to serve growing communities weekly. When I'm looking at the summarization of the builders meetings that happen within the county at the assessor's office, we have lots of growth and lots of expansion. Even national sports teams consistently grow their franchises here. Tampa Bay, Florida in general, holds a lot of championship clout when it comes to their national leagues. The unfortunate news of a hurricane a few years ago destroying Tampa Bay baseball stadium has locked in major developments to keep the teams at home and move them from the Clearwater side of our coast into Tampa proper. These are all things that scream expansion and economic strength. Why are restaurants a big kicker for that? Fast casual dining is getting a huge boost. You're talking about upcoming arrivals of several sought after names. Chipotle Mexican Grill is expanding its presence with two new locations. Lithia, big surprise there. It's growing exponentially as a development, and one that'll probably shock everybody, Waimama. Um, when I first moved to Florida, Waimama is actually where I resided. This was a this was a citrus area community that was under development. It was all orange and citrus groves forever before then. They started with some small upscale communities surrounded by what is absolutely rural content. This has all changed. If you drive south on Highway 301, south of Sun City Center, you're going to deal with development after development all the way to the river, showing you the level of growth and economic burst that's happening. And these are all supportive of Sarasota all the way up to northern Hillsborough County and then all the way west to the coastline for the Bay. Raising Cane's, known for its chicken fingers, is opening its first ever restaurant in Florida in Hillsborough County. This is highly anticipated. The opening draws eager attention. It gets a lot of online attention as well. Well marketed, simple menu, good quality product, and it will bring in others right behind it. Grocery stores, grocery store giants like Publix, still developing and anchoring new development in the state. This is a retail sector. So when Publix supermarkets set to become an anchor tenant at Wolf Creek Commons Shopping Center, located in the Waterset community right here in Ruskin, this move by Publix, a beloved regional grocery store chain in Florida, this is going to draw significant foot traffic to the developments. This benefits other businesses that will occupy the remaining retail spaces. We are seeing more and more expanse of retail space next to large residential communities in support of living, shopping, and commercing right there in your local area, steps away from your home. And obviously, although you'll find the market is a little slower, meaning that home sales are slower to happen, we don't have a decrease in the amount of home sales that are happening in the area. And the home sale values continue to creep up, not nearly as fast as 3, 4, 5 years ago, but we are still well above the 5% increase a year in Hillsborough County. And depending on where you are and the closer you get to the water, that is even more so. But if you just want to come here to live, if you are considering being a renter, more power to you. And for those renters that their properties are going up for sale because the owners of their properties no longer want to be landlords, there's probably a couple of tips that I can give you to make sure that you know that you're secure in your situation too. So if a landlord, and we're seeing a lot of this, is the reason I bring it up today, landlord sales are on the rise. They're not moving out of Florida. Their properties are simply aging to a point where they need some investment. They need some more tender loving care, more than you want to give as a landlord in an investment property. So they're selling their properties to buy other properties or to liquidate and invest elsewhere. So if your landlord's selling and you're in the midst of a lease, please don't panic. You've got a couple of different options. And certainly if you're looking to, if this, you're taking this as your sign to become a homeowner, and I want to go out and I want to do, I'm going to try to buy my own place, become from going from a renter to a buyer, as we call it in the industry, give us a call. We can walk you through some of these things. When a landlord decides to sell a property, tenants will often wonder, what does this mean about my lease? In this situation, while it's uncomfortable and potentially unsettling, there are clear legal guidelines for renters and protections that are in place in the state. So maybe it'd be helpful to help you understand your rights a little bit. So this process will give you some smooth transition, whether you choose to buy the property itself, which you certainly have the option, or continue renting it under the new ownership if they decide to remain as a landlord. So lease agreements, and I'll go into some detail in a second. Number one, lease agreements generally remain valid when a property is sold, unless there's some language that says that or some separate agreement on a sale purchase option. Um, when a property is sold that is already under lease, the lease will typically run its course and is legally accepted to do so. Two, new owners typically inherit the landlord's rights and their responsibilities too. So if there are things that are currently slated or things that have been you've been chasing to get done at the property that you're leasing while you know this property is in sale, it is important for you to put that in writing to the current landlord, and you need to explain that I would like this list transitioned to the new person so that they know what they're expecting as well. You want me to be cooperative in you showing your property. I need you to be transparent into the condition of the home and the repairs that I've been chasing from you as a landlord. And then make sure you just review your lease. Make sure if there are any specific clauses about this, it's crucial that you know what these are so that you can protect yourself and your living situation and your family. And then, of course, communication with the current landlord and the potential buyers is key. You want to be cooperative. It is very difficult on most occasions to sell a property when you are showing it, especially as an agent, and tenants are living in it. It's a often uncomfortable, difficult situation. They don't like to be bothered. This wasn't their idea when they decided to become tenants. And certainly they more often than not will not keep the home in an ownership's condition because it's not theirs. They're not going to take care of it the same way, right? So understanding that lease during a sale. If your landlord informs you that they're selling the property, and they do legally need to inform you, it is important to know that your lease does not become invalid. In most scenarios, in fact, the lease agreement will just transfer to the new ownership. That means that the buyer of the property now becomes your new landlord. They must adhere to all the terms and the conditions that were previously agreed upon until your lease expires. At that point, they can change whatever they want. They can change then with a new lease, your rent amount, lease duration, any other stipulations. They're unchanged from your previous lease, but you're almost guaranteed for them to change with the new homeowner landlord. For that matter, they may decide that they want to move into the house, or they may decide that they don't want any tenants at all and they want to turn it into an Airbnb or some situation like that. So just make sure you understand what is their intention. Smooth communication with them is always going to be critical for you to be able to make your next steps. When you are reviewing your lease agreement to validate these terms, first step is to be careful understanding the language. Some of these things are written in attorney speak. They're not supposed to have layman terms. They don't typically have layman terms in them. So it's difficult for a lot of people to digest. Real estate agents can often help you with the basic understanding of what the lease terms are. But if you really want to get down into specific language outside of what is a FAR bar agreement on a lease, certainly consult an attorney or at least a paralegal. Some of these leases can contain specific clauses in there that outline what happens in the event of a property sale. So if your lease doesn't address this, the general principle is it transfers as written. If it has specific terms, know what those terms are and know how to negotiate those if you need to with the new ownership. And then you've got some rights and responsibilities too. The new owner is bound by your existing terms. This includes the maintenance of the property, how they collect the rent, the respecting lease and dates. As the tenant, you're expected to continue fulfilling your obligations under the obligations of the lease, aka pay your rent on time, keep the home in good living condition, major repairs need to be reported quickly, etc. And then consider the purchase. If landlord offers to sell you the property, take your time, do the evaluation. You know the home as better, as well as, if not better than, the homeowner. So you know what the weaknesses are. You know the age of the house. You know what repairs have been done. You know what repairs should be done. And and you probably know that if you bought the house, what you may be on the hook for. And please think of the big four when you're considering purchasing a rental home: the age of the roof, the condition of the electrical, the condition of the plumbing, and in Florida, the HVAC system. This is huge. When these things become at age, and yes, water heaters included in that, when these things become at age, it can often be very expensive, not just to replace the unit, but the installation and removal of the old stuff. So research the property's market value, compare to the asking price. It's also advisable for you to still hire a professional, hire an agent to represent you in purchasing the rental home today into your new home tomorrow. Do not feel pressured into buying the house because you just simply don't want to move. You're not obligated to accept any position, even if they're going to supplement the financing. And then navigating all of that, right? If you decide to buy the property, the sale should not disrupt your tenancy. However, it is essential to stay informed throughout the sales process. You need to request updates from the landlord regarding the timeline, any changes that might affect you. You might be asked to complete paperwork acknowledging the new landlord and detailing the property's condition for them. You don't want to find out that you thought you had 6 weeks to move, but then they made an agreement to sell the house within 2 weeks, and now they're trying to petition to pay you out earlier. Um, Certainly, you're welcome to take some of these as advantages. If you are inconvenienced, there should be some sort of compensation between the movement. But again, if you've got a good real estate agent helping you and supporting you in either purchasing that rental property for yourself or moving to another location, you should certainly take the advantages where they show up. And then be sure to accurately list any existing problems. I've said this a little earlier, but confirm the things like what has been repaired, what should have been repaired, what needs to be repaired, and what repairs are coming up that you know are going to happen soon. Everybody has a workaround premise to save a little bit of money. Which things in the house have been worked around instead of truly repaired or replaced as needed? This documentation is going to be very important when a landlord takes over. And if you're not going to be a tenant forever, this will also protect your security deposit when you move from one owner to another. And then the importance of communication. I can't stress this one enough. Open communication is vital during a period like this. You need to keep records of any of those conversations. Current landlord, prospective buyers, whatever, document, document, document. If you've got any questions or concerns, or you hear something that doesn't seem to align with the understanding that you already have in place, don't hesitate to seek clarification and do so in writing. Don't just send them a quick text. Have that conversation and then send a follow up email. Hey, this is what I understood from our conversation or from our text messaging today. Stay proactive, stay informed, help ensure a smooth transition. Whenever you continue renting or decide to become a homeowner, it's important for you to know the values of the things that are coming around. Let's see. let's talk about the final challenges that are going on and some of the things that are happening inside of the local area that are very positive. State of Florida is currently under a press to remove property taxes for single family homeowners, not investors, not multiple properties, not people that own a multiplex, but for the people that own their single family dwelling, this is where they reside as well. The property taxes of that property will be under some type of waiver or some scenario. I would have to assume it would still be assessed, so that it can easily be spun back into the taxes whenever exchange or new purchases happen. But for that for that property tax relief to be a capability, it's certainly something that you want to consider moving forward. If that happens, obviously, that's a huge strike strike for homeownership in the state of Florida. We already do not do not collect income tax in the state. If we also remove property taxes in some of the most expensive real estate in the United States, it would certainly be a huge win. And you can bet if we already don't have a lot of people flooding into the state to move here, that would be one more reason for them to do it. So, if you are interested in knowing more about Florida real estate, whatever your flavor, we have properties ranging from the low 200s for starter homes all the way in the multi millions, as we discussed in the beginning of today's discussion. Give us a call here at Keystone. We'll be happy to help you with your search. Do not think that what you're searching online is everything that is available. As brokerages continue to have historical value with their clientele, very many of us have our own lists of real estate that we know are negotiable, not necessarily listed on the market, not necessarily contracted by one agency or another. But we know that if the right buyer came along, that property would be willing to sell it. Things like that are important in the conversations, and make sure that you're charting with a brokerage that's not afraid to communicate with someone in a neighborhood that you are interested in moving in simply by a canvassed mail in a community that doesn't sell homes very often because the people tend to live there longer. Sometimes you just need a brokerage that understands what's happening in a community and is not afraid to reach out to the ownerships there and see if anyone may have some interest if the price is right. Enjoy your St. Patty's Day weekend. If you get a chance to go up to Tampa Bay and to the river there, we have a listing currently inside of Sky Point Tower. It's one of our favorite high-rise places to represent. Um, Please give us a call. Stop in. See the river turn green today. Those festivities are going to go on until 4 o'clock, and then if you want to do the pub crawl afterwards, that will go on into the wee hours of the morning. So, best of luck on this St. Patty's Day weekend to all of you. God bless, and we appreciate you joining us today. Take care, everybody.